less than $11 addition to the 45 that we pay quarterly. Correct?
It'd be 11 and change.
Yeah.
Right. That's correct.
Right, I'm sorry, 11 and change, right. So we're talking raising the rate from 45 per quarter to 56 and some
50.
change.
Correct.
It's a little over $11 per quarter change.
56.50, right? From 48 to 56.50.
Okay.
45, right?
45, and that's per quarter.
Yep. Now,
And
Bob,
that's with the Neswick stabilization,
that's correct.
right, which leaves a balance in the Neswick of account of approximately another $100,000, as I recall.
We're projecting that we probably will double that with free cash, the surplus to free cash back to stabilization in October.
So, in other words, from the existing fee, right, after covering the expenses, there's a surplus of about $100,000.
When we finish the year, because we injected stabilization into this year's budget based on a certain amount of tonnage, the efforts of the recycling, the recycling bins flew out of here this past year. People doubled up. That was extremely successful. And the result is the tonnage is down, and that'll deliver a surplus plus, which means we didn't use all that stabilization money. So we want to redeposit that into the account in October.
Now,
Bob, are you all done with that math? Because I want to go to Michael's
I
question.
wanted to bring up one more thing, and this is looking further into the future. Should we think in October converting this to an enterprise fund?
Certainly. Certainly. Because what you're saying is, regardless of how you want to collect the money, it's going to be 100% funded.
Well, my concern is, we can come in and find out that there's free cash at the end of the year because of other overspending or whatever,
Right.
or lack of revenues that didn't come in.
Right.
We could actually have less than $100,000, on which
Right.
we'd like to put into.
When we close the books, we will just make sure with finance, the plan is that what we agree on that number, we close out the solid waste budget. And then get a memo right off to Greg with a copy to you folks that that's the amount of money that we close the year out, and that's the amount of money we'll be looking to pull out of free cash. So that's the flag. But you're correct. In any given year, that can just be ignored, and you can take and run with the free cash. So the only way to guarantee it is to set up the enterprise.
Ed, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, to this point, what you're saying, and this is where I want to revisit the bag limit, the bag limits. Don't look at it as take a different look at it, take from a different standpoint. Look at it as a cost control. This is, right now, we don't have any control on our disposal costs. And if you look at 2 years ago, those floods hit in May, we had the spike, right? We were able to absorb that because through our efforts, recycling, we had driven the trashes down. We didn't get quite as the improvement we thought, but we were able to absorb that. A year ago in October, all of a sudden we had this spike and everyone's frantic. What are we going to do? We're going to run out of money before the year's end.
Right.
What do you do in January when your solid waste budget is expended? Where does that money come from? And I'm looking at, I don't know I'm not familiar enough with the town's resources to be able to say, oh, we got a pot of money. I know there's an emergency fund somewhere. But what are you doing when you're looking at January and saying your solid waste costs are out of whack and you got 5 more months to pay for it? You're going to go to every other week trash. You're going to scale it. It's not going to happen. I would suggest that you look at the bag limit not as a punitive thing, because 6 bags, and there's going to be some people, there's going to be the extremes, but 6 bags, 2 barrels is going to cover 98% of the people in this town.
Well,
So not a problem. But it also gives you a control on your costs.
You know what bothers me about the bag limit is that I think the number is awful high. In other words, you're talking about 5 or 6 bags. I drive up and down the neighborhoods, every day every trash day on the way out.
I
And,
got pictures.
and a lot of, at least the neighborhood that I drive through, I see 1 or 2 bags or barrels. On occasion, I'll see 4 or 5 or 6 piled in front of a house, right? But, if I had 4 or 5 or 6 and my neighbor's got 1, I go over and I say to my neighbor, can you let me put one of my barrels out in front of your house?
You won't
Right,
get any
it
arguments
seems-
in this group on that one.
It seems to me that if you're going to control with a bag or a barrel limit, that it's got to be a smaller number if you're going to come out. I can't believe that your average number for the town is 5 or 6 bags per household. It isn't.
JRM was here, Tom Flanagan couldn't make it, the rep from JRM. He would tell you that if you pick a number between 4 to 6, you'd be doing a great service, because they have households every week that have 10, 8 bags. Where are they coming from?
Barrels.
Yes, but is it every single week, or is
Every
it?
week.
Every week. I got pictures.
business.
Okay, all right, well,
When we're talking bags, can
Guess I'm
someone
driving through
define
the
what a
wrong
bag
neighborhood.
is?
30 gallon.
30 gallon,
30 gallon. 30 gallon
30
trash bag.
30
30,
gallon.
32,
okay.
that's what only because these guys, as young and bulky as they are, they gotta lift all that stuff.
It's not a 13 gallon.
No,
It would fit into your big glass trash barrel. And if paying for the bag, I would fit 3 weeks of trash in that, with the trash that we do, so
No,
it's a lot.
I just wanted to know,
Right.
what's the definition, because we're talking
Yeah.
bags and
people
several different sized bags out there.
People use
so.
anywhere between the 30 and they may use the leaf bag, that's a 39
Mm-hmm.
gallon. But that's the range. You could possibly get full. You really can't get 2 39 gallon bags in a normal sized toter if they're really full. 2 30 gallons you can.
If you think about your kitchen, the tall kitchen bag's a 13-gallon bag that you're not, you don't fill up to 13, but you got usually tie it up, so there's a little more gap. So you figure you're generating between 30 and 35, you need 3 bags a week, that's 30 to 35. That fits in one of these large trash bags.
Now, if I may, I want to change go another course here, get back to what Mike was asking. The reason why, and it's the reason why if we can project a 3-year plan, given this program that we have now, a 3-year projection financially of holding the rate in these next 3 years, providing the same level of service, whether you tweak some of these issues or not, whatever. The basic program stays the same. There's all kinds of new technologies on the front. And what we want to do is make sure if you change the program, you're not going to change it for another 2, 3 years, 4 years, or as much as this 5 years, and then look to change it again. And they're coming at us fast because there's a lot of money now in recyclables, and a lot of people are the technology is catching up with that industry. Carl Quirum's the director in Goffstown, and they have their own. They bought 3 vehicles. One's a standby vehicle. One picks trash. One picks recycling. It's a 4-day pickup. So if there's a holiday, they can always get the town done in 4 days. The recycling is what they call single stream. In other words, it's automatic. Driver pulls up, an arm comes out, picks up a rubbish bag, a rubbish barrel, whoosh, in the hopper. Another vehicle comes by, same thing, picks up a recyclable bin. Whoosh, off he goes. Everything's in that bin. Paper, cans, bottles, everything. The downside of this program right now, first of all, it's new, and Burlington, Tewksbury, Huh? Bill Ricka in Woburn? Tingsboro, thank you. They have a collaborative, and Allied, former BFI, is doing automatic pickup for them as well. Now, I don't have the details on them, I just saw the article. But those communities, especially Tewksbury, Dave Pressman's the manager, and he was an ally in the Neswick and post-Neswick contracts. So it's our intention to see and speak to these people that are already, let's say, ahead of us in technology, whether they're their own vehicles or whether they're in a contract like these 4 communities. How do they work in snow? We want to get over to these towns after a snowstorm, after it's been pushed back, and see what happens. Because my reaction is everybody's driveway's got to be clear for those barrels to be in a place where this truck can come by and pick them up. The other thing on single stream recycling, and I only throw out, that's the new buzzword. And Eddie and I talked about this the other day, Friday. Sounds sexy, high cost. So your trash could go down because you're keeping it out of the trash stream. But your recycling costs could go up because it's got to be dumped, it's got to be separated. The paper's got to, and the cardboard's got to be all separated out from the bottles and cans. JRM, our provider right now, is 2-stream. Paper, cardboard, one, bottles, cans, so forth, commingled, nothing. So the ability to dump it all in one place and have some technical apparatus separate it all out automatically and so forth, that doesn't exist yet. So we want to go slow, we want to pursue, but we want to go methodically in the next year or two to look at, is there a win-win here, that we can go automated? Well, we have to supply the barrels. Oh, by the way, the barrels can be prescription. That means folks that, like Meg, low users, they can buy small barrels. They still trip up the same way. So they're buying something on an annual basis that costs less than somebody else that needs a bigger one. That's all out there. So you have a myriad of operations or choices operationally and technically, and then how do you fit, if we're an enterprise, how do you fit it all together financially to make that work? That's a lot of work. But I believe if you take your time and pursue it, again, methodically, then we can come up with a program that's long-term. Long-term, where it's where everybody's going to be going. So that, Mike, that's as much as we know.
Dave, you mentioned investigating the issues of how these systems work in the winter months and
Right.
and the snow on the ground. You know, just on a windy day, you drive through town and you see barrels tipped over. And you know, I mean, is it fully automated, or are the drivers of these vehicles expected to get out and
No, they're not.
they're not?
The
So if it
driver-
blows over, it's
And
lost.
what we'll do, we'll reactivate the solid waste committee, asks for a Board of Selectmen liaison, a FinCom member liaison, so we can go up to Goffstown and make the arrangements and see this and ask the questions and see it on the worst days. See it on a windy day, see it on a snow on ice day. I know for New Hampshire, of course, it's on taxation. They don't have a fee. The consortium here that I just mentioned, Massachusetts towns, they probably are a blend. They probably, each one has their own way of collecting the revenue. We'll have to investigate that as well.
So what you need from us tonight is, or at least at our next meeting,
Yeah.
is a decision on approval of the rate change
Yeah.
and approval of some of the recommendations associated with either barrel limit or view. What was the other one?
Visual recycling, bag limits, yeah.
Could we move to reactivate the solid waste committee immediately? I'd like to start working on that. I think the